12. Late summer perennials for 2025. Greens, whites, and yellows. Hello friends, and welcome back to Earthly Delights. If you're someone who steps into the garden on a late summer morning and wonders how to keep the magic alive when most blooms have faded, this video is made for you. Maybe you're a plant lover with a balcony full of palms, or you've built a backyard border that's your pride and joy. Perhaps you're still learning, still experimenting with which plants thrive in your soil, or maybe you're a longtime gardener who simply wants fresh inspiration. Whoever you are, I know one thing. You care about creating beauty in your space, about surrounding yourself with color and life that lasts beyond spring. Today, I want to share with you something special. 12 late summer perennials in greens, whites, and yellows that will carry your garden through those golden weeks of the year. These are plants that don't give up when the sun hangs lower in the sky. They shine, they glow, and they remind us that the season still has so much to offer. So if your beds are looking tired, or you're craving ideas to fill empty spots, stay with me. You're about to discover plants that will surprise you with resilience, fragrance, and a quiet kind of beauty that only late summer can bring. Part 1, green glow, structure, and calm. When late summer light softens, it's the green tones that hold the garden together. These perennials don't just fill space, they create balance, depth, and a sense of calm. Think of them as the quiet backbone of your borders, offering texture and resilience when brighter flowers start to fade. Echinacea green jewel. Let's begin with a plant that feels like a hidden treasure, Echinacea green jewel. Unlike the bright purples or pinks you might know, this coneflower carries soft green petals that fade gently toward a creamy center, surrounding a fragrant cone. Imagine walking into your garden in late August, when so many flowers look worn, and seeing this fresh burst of green holding its head high. It's a daisy-like bloom, but with a twist, unusual, elegant, and a true conversation starter. What makes it so perfect for late summer gardeners is its strength and adaptability. It thrives in full sun, tolerates dry soil once established, and grows to a manageable size, from around 30 to 45 centimeters tall. Its clumping habit means it will not sprawl wildly, but instead creates a tidy patch of refreshing color. For those of you who worry about maintaining interest when heat wears everything down, this perennial steps in gracefully. And here's the best part. The cone itself releases a light fragrance as it matures, drawing in pollinators. If you've ever wanted your garden buzzing with life, even in late summer, Echinacea green jewel delivers. Strong, upright, and quietly stunning, it's proof that green can be just as exciting as any bold bloom. 2. Farfugium japonicum wavy gravy. Now let's move to a plant that feels almost whimsical. Farfugium japonicum wavy gravy. Just the name brings a smile, and once you see its foliage, you'll understand why. The leaves are large, glossy, and ruffled all around the edges, almost like waves frozen in motion. They start out with a buff or bronze tint as they emerge, then mature into a deep, healthy green. This shifting color adds interest from the very first sprout to the fully grown leaf. For those of you with shady corners in your garden, or even a sheltered patio where other plants struggle, this perennial shines. It thrives in low light, bringing bold texture where most flowers refuse to grow. Its clump-forming habit creates a lush, dramatic mound about 45 to 60 centimeters across and 45 centimeters tall. And when late autumn arrives, it surprises you with cheerful yellow, daisy-like flowers that rise above the foliage. Think of it as more than a plant. It's a sculptural feature. If you've ever looked at a dark, bare patch and wished for something eye-catching, this is your answer. Low maintenance, reliable, and visually striking, wavy gravy adds personality to every shady space. It reminds us that even in the quiet corners, beauty can thrive. 3. Eupatorium capillifolium, dog fennel. Next, let's explore a plant that brings movement and texture to the late summer garden. Eupatorium capillifolium, often called dog fennel. At first glance, you might mistake it for a feathery, ornamental grass, with its finely divided fern-like foliage that dances with every breeze. But look closer, and you'll see it's a perennial that grows into a tall, airy presence, adding vertical drama where many gardens start to flatten out this time of year. For gardeners who want something statuesque but not heavy, this plant is perfect. It can reach impressive heights, often up to 1.5 meters, yet its foliage is so light that it never feels bulky. Place it at the back of a border, and you'll notice how it frames other blooms, almost like a living curtain. It thrives in sunny spots and handles poor soil better than most, making it a great choice for those of you who don't have perfect conditions. A word of advice: dog fennel can spread if left unchecked, but with simple pruning or taking cuttings, you can manage it easily and even share starts with fellow gardeners. Its real magic lies in the way it animates a garden scene. On a warm evening, when the late summer air stirs, its foliage sways gracefully, catching light and shadow. It's not just a plant, it's atmosphere, turning any border into a place of movement and life. Part 2. Yellow energy, late summer sunshine. As the days shorten and the air begins to cool, nothing lifts the spirit quite like yellow. These late summer perennials act like pockets of sunshine, bringing warmth and brightness to borders that might otherwise feel tired. They don't just glow, they energize the garden, reminding us that the season still has joy left to give. Dactylocapnos, climbing yellow bleeding heart. Now let's turn to something truly enchanting. Dactylocapnos, the climbing yellow bleeding heart. If you've ever wished for a plant that adds both elegance and a touch of surprise, this is it. Unlike the pink bleeding hearts many gardeners know from spring, this one carries golden, lantern-like blooms that dangle delicately along slender stems. They begin in a bright, cheerful yellow, then deepen into warm orange-brown tones as they age, offering a beautiful gradient of color right into late summer. What makes this perennial so special is its ability to weave itself into the garden story. With its tendrils, it can scramble up trellises, arches, or even through the branches of shrubs and roses, making it perfect for those of you who love vertical interest but don't want an aggressive climber. It prefers part shade, so it's also a wonderful solution for those shadier spots where other vines fail. Imagine walking past an arbor or shaded corner and spotting these golden blooms glowing softly like little lanterns. Beyond beauty, this plant is relatively low maintenance and will return year after year with its perennial roots. For gardeners who enjoy adding touches of surprise, plants that make visitors stop and ask, "What is that?" Dactylocapnos is a hidden gem that brings both mystery and delight to the late summer garden. 5. Rudbeckia laciniata Herbstson, Autumn Sun. If you're searching for a plant that brings bold drama just when your garden needs it most, look no further than Rudbeckia laciniata Herbstson, often called Autumn Sun. This perennial is a towering giant, reaching heights of 1.5 to 1.8 meters, and when it blooms in late summer, it feels like the garden itself has lit up. Its golden petals hang gracefully downward, almost like the skirts of a shuttlecock, circling around a soft green cone that gradually turns warm brown as the season moves on. This is the plant for gardeners who love big impact without big fuss. Planted at the back of a border, it creates a natural backdrop, its tall stems holding strong even in the wind when grown in lean soil. Unlike many tall perennials that flop, Herbstson stands proud and rarely needs staking, a blessing for those who prefer plants that take care of themselves. Its large clumps spread generously over time, making it perfect if you dream of a glowing wall of yellow late in the season. Beyond its beauty, it's also a magnet for pollinators. Butterflies, bees, and even hoverflies are drawn to its generous blooms, adding life and motion to the garden. Imagine standing in your yard at dusk in late August, golden petals catching the last rays of sun while butterflies hover lazily around them. That's the kind of magic autumn sun delivers, an unforgettable burst of light at summer's end. 6. Solidago rugosa fireworks, goldenrod. Few plants capture the energy of late summer quite like Solidago rugosa fireworks, a goldenrod that truly lives up to its name. Instead of stiff, upright spikes, its arching stems burst outward with cascades of tiny yellow blooms, resembling sparks frozen in midair. When planted in groups, it creates a dazzling display, like a celebration running through your garden just as autumn approaches. Goldenrod has an unfair reputation for causing allergies, but let's clear this up. It isn't the culprit. Ragweed blooms at the same time and is often confused, but goldenrod's nectar-rich flowers are actually a gift to pollinators, not a problem for people. Bees, butterflies, and even migrating monarchs flock to its blooms, making it one of the most wildlife-friendly perennials you can grow. For those of you who crave a garden that feels alive, Fireworks delivers. It's hardy, easy to grow, and thrives in full sun with average soil, so you don't need perfect conditions to enjoy its show. Standing about a meter tall, it's striking without overwhelming other plants, and it pairs beautifully with grasses or asters for that natural meadow-style look. Picture a border where, just as everything else begins to fade, golden streams light up your garden like sunlight captured in petals. That's the brilliance of goldenrod. It doesn't just extend the season, it makes it unforgettable. Part 3, White Light, fresh and eloquent. When summer's heat begins to soften, white flowers bring a refreshing breath of calm. They glow in twilight, reflect the moonlight, and offer elegance when other colors start to fade. These perennials don't shout for attention. They whisper, creating a sense of peace and timeless beauty that every late summer garden deserves. 7. Boltonia asteroids, false aster. Let's begin the white section with a plant that feels like a garden wrapped in mist. Boltonia asteroids, often called false aster. At first glance, it looks as though someone has sprinkled a cloud of tiny daisies across your border. Each bloom is small, but together they create a shimmering veil of white that softens everything around it. By late summer, when bold colors dominate, this airy display brings contrast and a sense of quiet romance. For gardeners who crave abundance without effort, Boltonia is a gift. It thrives in full sun, handles tough soil, and can stretch to impressive heights of 1.2 to 1.5 meters. Its branching stems are covered with hundreds of starry flowers, making it look like a white haze hovering above your border. Plant it behind shorter perennials or alongside ornamental grasses, and you'll see how beautifully it weaves structure and softness together. One of its best features is long-lasting bloom power. It carries on well into fall, keeping your garden alive with brightness when other plants are fading. Pollinators love it too, ensuring your garden remains buzzing with bees and butterflies. Imagine stepping outside at dusk and watching these flowers glow faintly under the fading light, almost as if your garden has caught the stars themselves. That's the magic of Boltonia asteroids. Not loud or flashy, but quietly enchanting, turning late summer into a dreamlike scene. 8. Galenia trifoliata, Bowman's root. Next on our journey is a plant that seems to float. Galenia trifoliata, also known as Bowman's root. This perennial has a light, airy grace that's rare in the late summer garden. Its star-shaped white flowers dance at the tips of slender, wiry stems, giving the impression of a gentle cloud hovering over its neat green foliage. Each bloom may be small, but together they create a shimmering, ethereal effect that lasts for weeks. For those of you who struggle with heavy-looking borders this time of year, Bowman's root is the perfect antidote. It doesn't overwhelm. Instead, it adds balance and movement. Growing to about 60-90 centimeters tall, it's ideal for weaving between sturdier plants, softening strong lines with its delicate presence. And just when you think its season is over, autumn arrives and the foliage turns a warm red bronze, offering a second show of beauty. Galenia thrives in part sun to light shade and prefers well-drained soil, making it a reliable choice even for less than perfect garden spots. It's also a magnet for pollinators, inviting butterflies and bees to linger late into the season. Imagine walking through your garden and seeing these small white stars twinkling in the breeze, almost like fireflies resting on stems. That's the charm of Bowman's root, subtle, graceful, and quietly captivating. It's a perennial that rewards gardeners who appreciate elegance that endures beyond summer's peak. 9. Veronicastrum virginicum album, Culver's root. If your garden craves structure and elegance in late summer, Veronicastrum virginicum album, often called Culver's root, may be the perfect addition. This perennial rises tall and straight, sending up spires of pure white flowers that stand like candles above its whorled green leaves. The effect is both architectural and delicate, a striking contrast to the sprawling forms that dominate many borders at this time of year. Growing up to 1.5–1.8 meters tall, it brings instant vertical drama, making it ideal for the middle or back of a border. Plant it where it can catch the evening sun, and you'll see the white blooms glow like lanterns, adding a luminous quality to your garden. It thrives in moist, well-drained soil, but is remarkably adaptable, handling both full sun and part shade with ease. What makes Culver's root especially fascinating is its history. Native Americans once used it for medicinal purposes, which is how it earned its common name. Today, gardeners treasure it not for its roots, but for the pollinator-rich blooms that attract bees, butterflies, and even hummingbirds. For viewers who want a plant that offers both presence and grace, this perennial delivers. Imagine a grouping of its spires swaying lightly in the breeze, creating a natural rhythm in your garden. Veronicastrum album isn't just beautiful, it's a plant that tells a story, bridging heritage, ecology, and timeless garden design. Part are ground covers and fillers in pale tones. Not every plant needs to tower over the garden. Some of the most valuable perennials are the quiet ones that knit everything together. Ground covers and low fillers bring softness, cover bare soil, and create continuity between taller stars. In late summer, pale blooms and foliage at ground level add balance, texture, and a sense of completeness. 10. Persicaria affinis superba, Bistort. Let's highlight a perennial that may not shout the loudest, but works tirelessly to hold the garden together. Persicaria affinis superba, often called Himalayan Bistort. This plant is a ground hugger with real charm. It produces short spikes of flowers that open in pale white or blush tones and then slowly deepen to pink and finally red as they mature. The result is a carpet of color gradients, like a watercolor painting spread across the soil. For gardeners who struggle with bare patches, slopes, or spots where erosion is an issue, this plant is a lifesaver. It forms dense mats of semi-evergreen foliage, rooting as it spreads, and creates a natural living mulch. That means fewer weeds and healthier soil, a benefit every busy gardener can appreciate. At about 20 to 30 centimeters tall, it doesn't compete with taller plants, but rather supports them, filling in the gaps and creating a seamless, polished look. What's wonderful about Superba is its resilience. It thrives in poor soils where fussier plants fail, and once established, it requires very little care. Sun or part shade, dry or moderately moist, it adapts beautifully. For those who love low-maintenance gardening but still crave beauty, this plant delivers. Picture your border in late summer with waves of pale pinks shifting into deeper tones under your taller perennials. It's not just ground cover, it's a subtle, living canvas that brings harmony and continuity to the whole garden. 11. Allium tuberosum, garlic chives. Now let's look at a perennial that bridges beauty and utility. Allium tuberosum, better known as garlic chives. At first, you might think of it as just another herb, but in late summer, it proves itself a garden star. This plant sends up clusters of delicate white star-shaped flowers that hover above slender green leaves, creating a frothy cloud-like effect. Each bloom is small, but together they form umbels that sparkle in the sun and glow softly in evening light. What makes garlic chives especially appealing is that it's both ornamental and edible. The flat, grass-like leaves carry a gentle garlic flavor, perfect for sprinkling into dishes, while the flowers themselves are also edible, adding a touch of beauty to your kitchen as well as your borders. Gardeners who love the idea of growing food and flowers side by side will find this plant endlessly rewarding. Standing about 30-45 centimeters tall, it tucks easily into beds, containers, or even between stones in a pathway. It thrives in full sun, adapts to a wide range of soils, and spreads politely without becoming unruly. Plus, it's a magnet for bees and butterflies, ensuring your late summer garden stays lively. Imagine strolling outside in September, snipping a few leaves for dinner, while at the same time admiring the airy white blossoms nodding in the breeze. That's the gift of garlic chives. Practical, graceful, and surprisingly elegant, it's proof that a useful plant can also be beautiful. Part 5, the bold finale. As summer edges toward autumn, some perennials will rise up to make a final grand statement. These are the plants that stand tall, hold their blooms high, and remind us that the season isn't ending, it's transforming. Bold, architectural, and pollinator-friendly, they carry the garden with dignity into the cooler days ahead. 12. Adratina altissima, white snakeroot. To close our journey, let's look at a perennial with both history and beauty. Adratina altissima, commonly known as white snakeroot. In late summer, when many borders begin to fade, this plant comes alive with fluffy clusters of white flowers that seem to float above its dark green foliage. Growing up to 1.5 meters tall, it commands attention without being overly flashy, adding a clean, luminous presence to the garden. What makes white snake root fascinating is its dual story. In early America, it gained a notorious reputation for causing milk sickness when livestock grazed on it. But today, gardeners value it as a tough, resilient native perennial that supports pollinators, offering nectar when few other flowers remain. Bees, butterflies, and moths flock to it, making it one of the last great food sources before autumn fully arrives. It thrives in part shade to full sun, and unlike many late bloomers, it doesn't need pampering. Average soil and moderate moisture are enough. For gardeners who long for plants that practically care for themselves, this is a dependable choice. Picture your garden at summer's end. While many beds look tired, clusters of white blossoms shimmer against green leaves, drawing in the hum of bees. That's the quiet power of Adratina altissima, a perennial that transforms the fading season into a graceful finale, reminding us that beauty doesn't disappear with summer, it simply evolves. Greens, whites, and yellows that carry summer home. As we've seen today, late summer doesn't have to mean fading borders or tired landscapes. With the right choices, greens that calm, yellows that energize, and whites that refresh, you can create a garden that feels alive even as the season shifts toward autumn. These 12 perennials are more than just plants, they're storytellers. Each one adds its own rhythm, whether it's the airy mist of Boltonia, the bold glow of Rudbeckia, or the quiet, sculptural grace of Farfugium. Together, they remind us that the garden is not only a place of beauty, but also a companion through changing seasons. And remember, gardening is deeply personal. Some of you may be balcony growers searching for compact varieties. Others may have sprawling yards looking for bold back-of-the-border color. Some of you love low-maintenance ground covers, while others crave the drama of tall, architectural blooms. Wherever you fall, there's a plant here that speaks your language, ready to bring balance and life into your space. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 12 perennials caught your eye the most? Do you already grow any of them, or are you inspired to try something new this year? Share your thoughts in the comments. I always enjoy hearing your garden stories. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to Earthly Delights for more garden wisdom, plant inspiration, and seasonal tips. Together, we'll keep discovering ways to make our homes and gardens greener, brighter, and more full of life, no matter the season.